Pleasure to meet y'all at last. And here we are again with Why's That? This is a Q&A session that, unlike others, involves a different type of question. Instead of just doing it the old regular why, who, how questions, any of which that start with those words, this question involves why is that questions. These are special questions that are not like any other. Instead of just going with the traditional why, you've got why apostrophe S that. And this way, it can correlate with the title of this series. When you send me off that question, no matter what the question is, as long as it starts with why's that, then it can be accepted. And you will have a chance to have a shout out in the form of a screenshot down here on the bottom of the frame. But for today's question, it wasn't at all too popular, I guess. It's probably not high in demand at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it'll get high in demand sooner rather than later. For today, though, we got ourselves a question that involves, well, it's another something that's pretty personal, so you might want to hang on tight. This question comes from another YouTube commenter, and he asked me, why is that you're obsessed with foot health as if you were having a foot fetish? Well, that almost makes me want to giggle, because the last part where it said foot fetish definitely does not describe me, because that has a similar nature of which that you have an obsession with someone's foot or any other. But in the case of my time with how foot health works, foot fetish is not a determined factor in terms of what the question should imply. And that is what I said. It got pretty personal, but here. The main part of the question, though, that he asked me was, why is that I'm obsessed with good foot health? Well, there we go, because that's not as personal as the very last portion of the question, which, again, does not determine my social stigma at all, but yet you still got yourself a shout out. I mean, that question still makes me want to giggle on the count that the very last part of the question still is implied towards me, as if I'm the one here with the foot fetish. But again, the foot fetish is not a determined factor about me, so you might as well just scrap that right away. But the main part of the question was, why am I obsessed with foot health overall? And here's a really good point right here, because if you've not already seen a video that I made based on Injinji socks and Viva 5-finger shoes, good tips and tricks that I can do with either footwear, well, then you might as well go check it out. I have a link to that video in the description box below, and I uploaded that a few days back. And it gives you several steps that you can take with either footwear. But the main part of it is, why am I obsessed with good foot health? Well, the reason why is because in hundreds of years, we have paid very little attention to what the consequences of improper footwear and improper foot care could lead us to. And here's a much bigger part to the story here, because we've been wearing traditional toe box shoes that end up with a tapering at the end almost like this, with cowboy boots, with a lot of stuff that tapers to a point, pointy toe boxes that can go like this, mostly like this really. There's a lot of dress shoes out there that do have a tapering point around here, not a really pointy tip on the end of it. But nonetheless, it's just not good to have that kind of footwear, because as I've learned over the last couple of years, it seems that with the wrong kind of footwear, we're going to end up in a lot of messy dilemma. And this is because, well, not any of us, well, hardly any of us at least, want to go directly to the good foot health, the good side of the foot health that we need, and we just never really tended to buy any foot products, including wide toe box shoes like what I got, or any kind of training tools that we can use for being barefoot and the like. And there are actually lots of different kind of foot gear that you can buy today that have very good advantages and some pretty big beneficiary factors that imply to the fact that good footwear is essential to your total foot health in terms of how well you can interact with the ground below you and how well you can, well, stop the pain in your foot, really. But nonetheless, I've really paid good attention to it throughout this whole year here in 2018, of which I bought one pair of Vibram 5 Fingers, of which I'm actually wearing right now. I'm taking one off, as you can see right here. Something like this is definitely something that I feel everybody should interact with, that anybody around here should use at any given point in time. And I'm putting it back on right now. In the same technique that I have done with the vlog, which that there are tips and tricks that I discovered that you can do with Vibram 5 Finger shoes or Injinji socks. And speaking of Injinji socks, well, I don't have any of those on me, unfortunately, but unlike regular socks, I mean, Injinji socks are probably going to be the best thing in this whole century that anybody around here would use. Because, as it turns out, Injinji socks offer much bigger beneficiary factors than any other, well, off-brand toe socks would offer. Injinjis would definitely offer us a much better opportunity for us to connect with our own toes and with our own good foot health in terms of, well, keeping the toes separated from each other rather than scrunched up together like that. And that is also from traditional toe box shoes that are narrow at the very end of them especially. But with toe boxes that are widest at the very ends of them, we can guarantee ourselves a much better lifetime towards taking care of our own feet that we were given to before we were even born. And of course, there's also the fact that most people are born with perfect feet, of which that it's widest at the ends of the toes, and it's much like this. And there's also a pretty decent amount of time that we can just take here to just explain how throughout most of our whole lives, up until today even, that we've just hardly ever paid attention to what good foot health would look like, and we've just never really had the time to just take care of our own feet that were given to us. And that, here's a really big point around here, because these kind of foot products here that we got today, including Vibram 5 Fingers, Injinji socks, wide toe box shoes, and toe spacers even, a lot of other products in relation to good foot health, they're given to us so this way we can have a chance to put our feet back in the correct shape that was meant for us when we were a newborn, when we were just newborns. Back then, we were just newborns, our feet were widest at the ends of the toes, and we did not have any kind of shoes that would really fit newborns. But eventually we did end up getting to wear shoes and other clothes. Don't know why that has anything to do with what I'm speaking of, but the point here is that throughout our whole lives, from newborn to adult to old man even, elderly livelihood as well, we've just never really had the time to look online even, because I'm more than sure that many people don't have internet access out there in the world today. So this way, they can not exactly find the right kind of shoe that was meant for them to keep the natural foot shape in play, and to also keep what was meant for us the same, as if we were just born and that our feet were never put into a regular shoe in our whole lives. And we can actually do that. All we'd have to do is to keep stretching our toes away from each other, correct toe spacers that would definitely offer us a much better use of stretching our own toes, just like that. But here's another part to the question that I'm sure an answer has yet to come. There's lots of people out there that just don't seem to really dig the style of which Injinji socks, Vibram 5 Fingers offered, because they're definitely made to look as if it's a barefoot, an actual barefoot, not the traditional style of shoe that's widest at the ball of the foot and then just tapers to a point afterwards. And that is, of course, well, a lot of people just seem to be born with the fact that those kind of shoes were something that they'll like to wear at some point. And oddly enough, there's many people out there, Americans especially, who complain about their foot health, about any kind of pain that develops from it. And this is because they shouldn't be wearing those type of shoes. They shouldn't be wearing Nikes. They shouldn't be wearing Asics, Pumas, Timberland boots, any of those kind of popular brands that would actually put your feet in a bad state of health. But if you wear Altras, Vibrams, or Tune dress shoes, or Lems shoes, or shoes in relevance to the wide toe box design, or even the five-finger design, then you are guaranteeing a much brighter pathway towards the future of your foot health. With pain relief that could set in, with other benefits that can set in, with corrections of any kind of health deficiency that will develop sometime in your life, we can really put forth our future to make sure that our feet are going to stay in good health at any given point in time. And we can also guarantee ourselves a better future for us to walk, because oddly enough, those narrow toe box shoes, those, well, heels even, are not an exception either, because they also have some pretty awful tendencies to create the flat foot condition. And the flat foot condition is way worse than you think, because that arch in the middle of your foot, you need that to support your own body weight. You need those arches to keep yourself balanced. Flat foot condition is going to be painful for you. If you just wear conventional boots that have heel elevation and toe spring, then it just pulls the bone of the arch and it just straightens them out rather than just leaving them curved like this. It straightens them out like this over time and creates flat foot condition. And it's a pretty awful factor, but many people just don't like to wear the real kind of boots. Lems Boulder. And you know what? I am actually going to be considering about getting a pair of Lems Boulder boots, leather more likely, and I'll be scrapping my old Camex, because Camex, of course, do have heel elevation and toe spring, and those two parts of the boot can definitely lead to flat foot. And those flat foot is not going to be pretty. It is going to be painful. It is not going to be comfortable for you to walk anymore when you have a flat foot. And of course, it's not just flat foot condition that we have to worry about in terms of wearing the wrong kind of footwear. There's also plantar fascia pain, neuromas, bunions, hammer toes, cross toes, shin splints, runner's knee, heel spurs, and other pretty awful bits and pieces of pain, deformities, and deficiencies that can take place in any part of the foot whatsoever. But on top of all that, I'd say as of today's standards, we are going to have ourselves a brighter future ahead of us if we can only make natural foot gear products, including Altra shoes, Vibram Five Fingers, and Genie socks, any of those products as mainstream products. This would mean that we can put them in any kind of store that we'd want to. If it were to be Walmart or Target, this way it would be much more accessible to the public, so they wouldn't have to go online and go over the hassle of ordering and waiting for them. This is something I would want to do in my lifetime. I would want to set up a campaign for any of those companies out there that make good foot products to raise money. I would make a campaign to raise money to send off to these companies, so this way they can pay for shipping to have their products shipped to certain stores across the globe. And I already could imagine what it is, but again, I'm not the kind of guy that makes stuff up, alright? I tend to look to reality. Reality right now is that we do not have the good foot products in stores. They're online only at this point in time. Until further notice, I can't tell if they won't be able to ship their products off to stores around the nation. But here's another point of reality that we have today. Lots of people go shopping for narrow toe box shoes. They go for shopping on boots as well that have the heel elevation and toe spring, rather than shoes or boots that should have a flat, flexible sole and a wide toe box to accommodate toe splay. Natural toe splay, that is. That's what reality is right now. I cannot tell what else I could come up with to explain what reality is like today with the bad kind of foot health out there that we all have today. Of which that I have been paying attention to good foot health this last year and a half, and there's no sign of me stopping at any given time. Even if my feet were going to be perfect again, like when I was born, per se, I don't know how much of a difference that would make. Because I should keep on going. I would definitely want to keep on going. Keep on getting my feet to look much better, keep on getting the toe splay, getting in place. And I'm also going to continue onwards with what I've got in play. Vibram 5 Fingers, Ultra Shoes, and Gingy Socks. I'll continue to wear all three of those kind of footwear. And there's just no sign of which I will stop. And once again, I will set up a campaign in the future to make sure that Lem's footwear, Ultra footwear, any kind of footwear in general that is good for us, become a mainstream product. I would make those mainstream products, so this way they can get into stores that we commonly visit every day. Walmart, Target, doesn't matter which one it is, even ones in the shopping malls that we've gone to in our time, I would make those a mainstream product in those places as well. But anyhow though, that was a pretty fun time. And if you want to see more though, go down on my channel and on YStat. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.